You should, but you can't. All right, let's get this started. I'll be back in, I don't know. How long's the promo?
Vinny is a man, always doing what he can, growing up tough. He knows how to be rough. But
Bullshit know how to be rough. I cry when I see a squirrel almost fall off the tree. How you doing, everybody? Now, I'd like to say I'm glowing, which I am, but I'm not taking credit for it here. It's my boy. I miss you more each day. I know, Daddy. Doesn't really look like me, especially I don't have those love handles anymore. And Colby. And look, I'm so cool I could even, nah, it's not a real flame, but it's here for me to remind me of how much I miss that guy. How you doing, everybody? This show goes out to a friend for life, a friend that has always been there, doesn't know where the bodies are buried. He helped bury them, not figuratively. My friend Bobby D. We go back as old as water. And I'll tell you something. When you have a friend, it's as vital as water because you'll die without certain friendships. You certainly will. And his is one that can't put a monetary price on it, can't put it figuratively. You can't. All you know is that it's vital to your well-being to have him at the other end of the phone, although he lives in a different state. It's just a state of mind. So this one goes out to him. We have had, if I told you some of the stories, a bit of X-ratedness in there, it would not bode well for the women that actually still have a little respect for me after 5 years on here. But I will. There was one time when Bob and I went to visit our friend Ira. Now, our friend Ira was a mope. Remember in, what was the Bronx Tale? Mush. Oh, he wasn't quite as bad as that. We were in our early to mid-20s. But he just lost all the time. So we made sure that we added to the suffering because he was a pain in the ass. I remember one night getting there at about 11 p.m. for a Stratomatic all-night session. Now, this is about 1988 or so. We took him for $500. But, hey, we left him $10 for Chinese food. We left there about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Bob and I walked out of there like Don Larson and Yogi Berra for you baseball fans. We shook hands. He almost jumped into my arms. Well, he did jump into my arms once when we went to a net game and Ira was losing the whole game. He sat all the way like Bob Uecker. And then as his team came back, so did Ira, closer and closer to us, until the buzzer beater beat him when he was winning, and Bobby jumped in my arms like Yogi Berra in the parking lot. Now, this might sound very cruel. Yeah, it is, but he deserved it. So there was one time when we go over his house, and he has a girl that he likes from the party line. Remember that? And another girl was there with her. So these girls are looking at Bob and I. They leave, and they're kind of making a motion. So I said, Bob, I think they want us to come out. But we couldn't. You know, we tried to be nice. So, but we did. 20, 30 minutes later, I don't know what it was. And there's a big-ass brown old Cadillac on the corner, flashing its lights. I thought it was a hit. And I used to gamble at that time, so I felt like saying, Bob, hit the dirt. Well, yeah, I had my car. We went to Rockaway. and Bob went in one of the girls' cars, and one of the girls came in my car. And let's just say, Rockaway Beach was never the same, at least for that hour. So we had our fun. But I will tell you, it goes much deeper than that. We have a lot in common. We lost our sisters at a young age. Him about 10 years younger. His sister was 10 years younger than my sister when she passed. Illness. And I told the story that when Bob's pop died, we are big Godfather fans. We went to Atlantic City once, and I, from the VCR tape, taped 3 hours of The Godfather on a cassette tape, and we listened all the way to Atlantic City. That's how sick we were. And we're sitting there when the priest is eulogizing the father. Eulogizing? Eulogizing? I don't know. The father. And I look at Bob in the front row, and I say, you know how they're going to come at you? Just like a line from The Godfather. Well, after we stopped laughing and everybody thought we were disrespectful, they realized what it was. It was just me and Bob being me and Bob. And it was an incredible time. An incredible time. You could be young and stupid, and you had a license for it. Your license was your birth certificate and your license that showed your date of birth, because you were allowed to do silly things when you were in the age group of silliness. Now, not so much. You know what you should do. You should, but you can't. Bob texted me right after I used this line in one of my shows a couple of days ago and said, you're right, that's a great line. In fact, I may get a shirt made. You should, but you can't. You should do the right thing, but you can't. You should save from the time you're 15 with your paper route, but you can't. You can't because you're not supposed to. Everybody would be a multimillionaire if everyone did the right thing when they were 13. I had a friend who said something very, very interesting. Eulogizing, yeah. I got a little caught up in the wording. Gee. You know, he said to me, there has to be misfortunate people in the world. So the fortunate people know they're fortunate. And I thought about it. Sounded okay. He's right. How would you ever know if that Italian restaurant's great unless you went to other ones that sucked? How would you ever know if that love of your life was the love of your life? Because everyone else that had come into your life just wasn't the same as the love of your life. I don't know. It seems insignificant. Some of these little malapropisms that we use are just that, little cute notes for someone to say, ah, clever. But it's true. We do the best we can. We don't always succeed. In fact, I really wonder if you got the big ledger out right before you take your last breath. If you add it up, and if you come anywhere near 500, like a sports gambler, if you're above 500, you could be a parent that hits 250, but in the playoffs you're a 300 hitter. When your son needed you the most, you hit 380, bases loaded double. You were an average dad, but when you stepped up to the plate in a big moment with the bases loaded and he needed you, you came through. That's what life's about. Add it up at the end. and see if you could look in the mirror and say, I did the best I could. You know, it was a Pope of Greenwich Village. Really good movie. I don't remember the Kenneth McMullen was the actor. He played a 50-something-year-old, guy that owned a clock repair shop. Got involved with Charlie Moran and Paulie, and he had a run. He meets his wife on the top of the L, the train station. That was in White Plains Avenue and Westchester Avenue. I went there and saw that spot. That's where that was filmed, where that bar was, and his clock was. And he said, I wasn't the smartest guy in the world, but I did the best I could. What more could you ask of a man than just doing the best he can for his family? To me, Jean Don. When you could actually look in that mirror and say, my decisions weren't always the correct ones. And look, I'm bipolar. But that doesn't mean I was always wrong. Right? You can be paranoid, but they are talking about you. You're right. All I could do is look at the scorecard in my mind and hope that I got up with the bases loaded when he really needed me. And I got that hit to save my son from a very bad loss. I don't know. Bob has a son, a little younger than my son. Got 29. And I'm sure he's a fine young man, because Bob is one of the finest men I've ever met. And I mean that. You know, my friend Fred, in his blog, thanked me for now being viewed in many countries with his songs I've co-written with him. And he said if it weren't for me, he probably would have stopped writing. He had sold his guitars. It was like Michael Corleone. Sold the casinos. I spoke to Fred once. He sold all his guitars. He hadn't written a song, hadn't picked up a pen to paper in years. And I happened to send him a song I was working on. And I said, what are you, crazy? Why? He couldn't answer me. And when he didn't have an answer for me, I knew no answer was going to be good enough. And I said, go finish that song you started 20 years ago. And he did. He now has songs that are listened to, streaming, different countries. And I thank you, Fred, for that wonderful, wonderful dedication. But I was 200 miles away. I might have said something on the phone, but you know what? I couldn't make him pick that pen up. I couldn't make him go buy another guitar or take the guitar out of the closet. I forget which one it was. That's on him. He was looking for that push. And thank goodness I came along to shove, and shoved hard enough, because he could be a stubborn dude. I'm proud of him. Another dear, dear friend. You see a reoccurring theme here. I feel very blessed. I have a lot of really, really dear friends. I mean, friends that I know 50 years. And what makes a friendship? You could fight. This differences of opinion. You may have been raised differently. You may just not agree. But when push comes to shove, you love each other. I could be mad at someone, a friend, and not talk to them. We could have argued badly. And if God forbid something happened, I'd be on the first plane there. Because that's what you do. You know, sometimes I come on here and there's so much I want to say. And 15 minutes and 42 seconds in, I feel like I'm not projecting the way I want to. Because maybe it's so important to me what I'm feeling now that I just don't think I can give it service by just coming on a screen and talking about it. You know, I can't paint the word picture for you here. Can't do it. But I can tell you this much. When you have friends that you hold in such high esteem that they are part of the fabric of your life, the sweater, that fabric, well, like a comfy sweater that you just, oh, like this in the cold, do it. Because one day that sweater is going to be worn and torn like friendships. And it's seen its better days. Just when you think it's seen its better days, you throw it on when it's 20 degrees and you don't see the way it looks worn and faded and pulled. It's doing the same thing it always did, keeps you warm. And that's what happens with friendships. People change. It's evolution. And I think that we know who we are most of the time. And then we wonder a good part of the time. We wonder what we're missing. Must be missing something here, right? What makes this one so special, right? You meet a girl, right? Yeah, she's pretty. There's a million other pretty girls. What makes this one where you just have to see her? Don't know. Is it electricity? Is it chemicals? Is it whatever? But the more we try to figure it out, it's the more I tell you a song from the past you can't remember who sang it and it'll drive you crazy. Instead of just saying, I forgot. Hold these people close to your heart. Because unfortunately, life has proven to us that many of them will be memories. You may be the first memory, and they may have to remember you, or vice versa. Hold them close to your heart and tell them you love them while you know they can hear it. I came on tonight because I was thinking of Bob. I was thinking of all the things we've been through. And wouldn't want it any other way. Have a great night, everybody. God bless you.